Heating and AC test 4. I don't know. Is there anybody out there that should be in here? I don't think right now. I mean, I think we've got everybody in here. Let's go through this. We got about 30 minutes to knock this out. What's true about heat? Cold is a lack of heat. Heat's always travel from warm to cold, form of energy.
All of them.
All of them are true. What occurs when heat travels through a material from one molecule to the one next to it?
Convection.
That is conduction.
That's what I meant.
It's conduction. Convection is when it's carried away, you know, after it's been conducted. What's number 3 is a process of transferring heat by circulating heated media, and that's called
convection.
You're actually conveying it, right?
Yeah.
The movement of heat through heat rays is called radiation. Molecules are composed of what?
Atoms, protons, neutrons, electrons.
Well, actually, they are composed of atoms. Which a lot of people don't know that if you brought the nucleus of an atom up to the size of a baseball, the nearest electron wing would be 3 miles away.
Yeah.
So atoms are mostly empty space. I mean, mostly empty space. They're just interacting with each other, making it feel solid. We're made of atoms too. Which of the following is a form of matter?
A form of matter. I'm going to go with
all of these: solid, gas, liquid, and solid. Which of the following describes sensible heat? Oh, this gets complicated.
I'm going to go with all of them.
It causes a temperature change.
Dadgummit.
Yep, sensible heat causes a temperature change. Number 8, blank causes change in a state of matter.
Both A and B.
Latent heat.
Oh.
That's why you hear them talking about in the evaporator. You have the latent heat of condensation, and in the of evaporation, of vaporization, and in the condenser you've got the latent heat of condensation. And so basically, as it's changing from a liquid to a gas, it's absorbing heat, and as it changes from a gas to a liquid, it gives off heat. See what I'm saying? That's the latent heat thing. I will tell you this though, that's something you have to know whenever you're learning about this stuff, but you will not use that to fix no vehicle. It's kind of like Ohm's law. You almost never use Ohm's law to fix anything, but you're supposed to learn it in theory class, right? Let's see, what it takes. How many BTUs of heat to cause a change of state from 1 pound of water to 1 pound of steam?
Let's say 970.
Anybody else like that answer? Pretty good bit, huh? 970 is right.
Ironically enough, when you were talking last week about BTUs, and you were like, does anybody know what BTU stands for? I was screaming at YouTube, it's a British thermal unit! It's a British thermal unit!
And then how would you illustrate it? Remember? You strike a match.
Yep.
That's a BTU.
That's a BTU.
The boiling point of a liquid can be increased by raising the what?
Pressure?
Yep, if you put it under pressure, it doesn't boil. It's harder to boil. Superheat refers to temperature increases in a vapor after all of the liquid has boiled. Is that true or is that false?
Let's do true.
That is true. 0 psig is A, the 0 point on all gauges. B, equal to about 15 psi on the absolute pressure scale. C, the lowest point on a vacuum gauge.
Yeah, let's do them all.
Yeah, or D, all of these. I mean, the lowest point on a vacuum gauge, I don't really like it, you know, because you could misconstrue that. But basically, the answer they're wanting is B. Some gauges are not calibrated that way, so you want to put B. Now, everybody remember about PSIG? What is PSIG?
That's in reference to atmospheric pressure.
Sea level, yeah. At sea level, 14.7 is 0 PSIG. PSIA
is a vacuum.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually measured from no pressure. So we're measuring the way we measure pressure now is we measure it from sea level pressure, which is 14.7. That's what PSIG is. And so that's an engineering thing, though. Number 13, which of the following is not a chlorofluorocarbon or a hydrochlorofluorocarbon?
I'm going to go with 134A.
Everybody like that answer? That's correct. Two technicians are discussing heat. Technician A says the heat always travels from hot to cold. Technician B says heat is a form of energy.
Both those cats are right.
Well, both of them are right. Heat always travels from hot to cold, and heat's a form of energy.
I had a science teacher who used to say there's no such thing as cold.
You remember the little story about these guys, these gangsters carrying their pistols when they're shooting them? They hold them like this. You know why they do that? Why do they do that?
Because they don't know how to hold it down.
No, that's the way it came out of the box.
Uh,
Okay, well, let me see. My son told me that a long time ago. All right, R12 is normally used with what kind of oil?
mineral oil.
Everybody like that answer? Mineral oil sounds good to me. An atom consists of all of the following except
Molecules.
molecules, because atoms make up molecules. Number 17, compressing a vapor does what?
Increases the pressure and increases the temperature.
Increases the pressure and increases the temperature. When you're heating a substance, latent heat is what? The heat added to cause a change of state while the temperature stays the same.
Yep, see.
19. All of the following are true of atmospheric pressure except
What? B? 21.2 PSI?
what do you think?
Egg.
Are you at an impasse here? Atmospheric pressure at sea level is not 21.2, so that's the one that's not. That's one of those ASE style questions where they say all of these are true except, and you'll get messed up if you're not paying attention. Technician A says atmospheric pressure at sea level is 14.7 psi. Technician B says atmospheric pressure is constant regardless of altitude. What?
We're going to go with A.
Really? Yeah. You can tell he hadn't flown many fighter planes, huh? Okay. All right. There you go. Now then, heating and AC test. That was heating and AC test 4, wasn't it?
Yep.
Okay, now let's jump over to heating and AC test 5. Film at 11.
I noticed this semester we've been getting at least 2 tests a day.
Huh? Well, we are, because we got to make sure we work our way through all this material by the end of the semester. We'll get to the point where we're just doing 1 a day. All right, this is 5, test 5.
That's no problem.
Blank is thought to be the chemical chiefly responsible for the depletion of the ozone layer.
Is it chlorine?
It is. It was always interesting to me that the space shuttle was supposed to study the depletion of the ozone level. But whenever the space shuttle went up, it would put out 17 tons of chlorine. And chlorine eats ozone, supposedly. And where's ozone come from? What is ozone?
It's O3.
And how's it made?
Lightning.
Yeah, lightning. When lightning strikes, it makes it, yeah. And lightning strikes all the time, huh?
What I don't get is how can it be depleting? We have so many lightning storms just here in the U.S. How can we be losing the
Because
ozone
ozone is
layer?
also highly, it's not corrosive, it's highly, when it comes to contact with metal, it really catches it. So a lot of times.
It oxidizes, yeah. But also inside your distributor caps on the older ones, that the old gray Ford distributor caps that Fords used to have on them, that ozone popping around in there would react with that gray filler material that the cap was made out of, and it would make some gummy clear stuff that looked like water condensation, but it was like syrupy, and it would do the same thing that water would. They make them cut up and run bad. Pull the distributor cap off, see that stuff in there. They put a vented cap on there to let the ozone out. In 1987, 23 major countries agreed to phase out what at a conference in Montreal?
R12.
R12, and that was called the Montreal Protocol. And here is this guy right here calling me right now.
And it took us
Okay.
6 years to
All right.
follow it.
All right. Hang on a minute. Hello.